Look, I'm not gonna just pretend that this is gonna be the first time I click record. I went to do a whole spiel on menopause and belly fat gain and the meno belly and just how much harder it is for you guys and just how much you're preyed upon with these bloody like silver bullets, just anything that you feel heard, you feel appreciated, not appreciated, you feel understood, you feel like someone is finally paying attention, acknowledged like your symptoms, like that's exactly what I'm experiencing. You get me. So it makes you feel like just thankful, grateful. However, most of the people selling you all of this bullshit are literally just doing that. They're selling you bullshit. They're trying to get their money from you. They're telling you that things work differently, and they will cite studies and pull out extracts of things that are either run on mice, which actually do not apply to humans in that context, because not everything that is a rodent research can be applied to humans. And a lot of the studies that people can pull out that look seemingly plausible, what the study concludes is not what they say it concludes. And because they know a lot of the general public don't understand that stuff, they say it anyway. And this is going to tie into this whole podcast because many of us want to get this lean look. And it's hard when we turn 35, when we turn 40, when there are so many things that we need to add to our day, to schedule in, to fit in, and we end up running ourselves like a mad woman trying to keep up with it all. And we can also feel really damn busy, which makes us feel like we're doing a lot, but we haven't really been active, we haven't really moved. But none of this really matters if you haven't put in the work in the first 30, 40, 50 years of your life. Because it's muscle that dictates your metabolism, it's muscle that dictates your body composition. And it's very difficult for you to see what you want to see in your legs, in your midsection, and not turn into an apple pretty much, because that's what happens. Like body fat redistributes to your midsection, but you don't just gain belly fat out of nowhere. That comes from somewhere, that comes from lifestyle creeps. It's kind of like boiling a frog. You don't notice that it's happening, but over time, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, as the years go on, your lifestyle creeps happen. Sitting more, snacking more, less movement, or performance in the gym. You're not putting as much oomph into the gym. And I already know this. And I'm only in my, like, I'm not even in my 40s yet. I'm in my 30s. And my training has changed immensely from my 20s. I'm not in my 20s anymore. In my 20s, I trained like a freaking beast. I'm slowly coming back to training like that again. But I went through a period where it was very much the opposite and it was very much minimal. And I started trying to get away with as little as I can because I knew that I can get away with as little as I can. But that needs to reflect in the food. And movement is your metabolism, but so is muscle. And if you're always trying to fit into the same skinny jeans or stay under a certain number on the scale, or you're scared of looking bulky or feeling bulky or doing a proper build for long enough, and then, like, if you haven't actually done a proper build, and I don't mean just eating more, but things tailored to you to build muscle, which is very, very rare to see, then you're probably going to fall into the section of people that do end up with a slower metabolism. Although it's not much slower, it is all due to your lifestyle. It doesn't just slow down out of nowhere. You can still build muscle in menopause. You can still build your metabolism up through movement, through lifestyle changes, through lifestyle creeps and shifts in the opposite direction, shifting your focus to the controllables. It's not menopause. It's lifestyle stuff that we don't recognize. It's so easy to not track meals that you eat out, the snacks, the many things we don't even realize that we're having. But this wasn't even, it was going to be a menopausal podcast, but then I'm like, nah, screw that topic. I want to talk about this in general because it's so important. And like training doesn't suddenly change rules. Menopause doesn't mean throwing out the fundamentals. Progression, weights, all that stuff still wins because this is the very thing that many of us in our 30s want as well. Muscle is a missing piece. It's not another diet, it's not another deficit. And that's the hardest part to understand because the lean midsection that we want, it looks like it came from dieting, from lower carbs, from doing more and more and more training, from adding in reps and sets. But that's just going to have you feeling more depleted and it's unsustainable. And I have had clients who came to me, and when they first started out, it's like, yeah, well, I just want to be able to eat more and this and that, and everything is focused around food. And I don't blame you guys. Because if all you've ever had was diet culture rules in your head, which you would have heard on the other podcast, I'm not anti-diet culture in that sense. There are so many things from diet culture that can absolutely help a fat loss phase. But the thing is, you're not meant to be in a fat loss phase forever. You're meant to spend more time building. And you will never get to a place that feels maintainable, sustainable, and like freedom. And you're never going to find confidence if your body is literally the only thing that you think about. Because the more that you focus on your body, the more that it becomes the object of your fish slapping and whatever you want to call it. It's not macros, it's not nutrition, it's not another diet, it's not any of that stuff. It's application of muscle building principles over time because you don't need a crazy surplus to build muscle, but you do need to eat enough and you need to fuel enough. I've been having so many people say that I look leaner now, that I'm even having my partner point out my veins, that I was bamboozled that I could see. And I honestly, if I had to be honest, I was like, why is my body not maintaining on as much calories as it used to maintain on before? I'm going to get a lot more strict with how much I'm eating as well when I get back from Melbourne, because I will actually stick to the actual meal plan that I've set for myself because I love having structure. And to me, that means freedom because if I want to have a meal out with him on the weekend, I already know what my meals are like. I can just substitute something. Or if it's going to be more than that, then I know that I need to substitute this meal and maybe my dessert as well, or maybe something from this meal. And I only recently just took out something from my meal plan so I can put in lollies that I can have during my training sessions because I want to be able to just apply myself to getting the most out of my sessions. And I know that ever since I started having lollies before or during my sessions, I've been able to train harder for longer and focus harder for longer. And that's exactly what glucose does. I have 3 sour straps, 1 to 3, depending on what my session is and what I need. I go preemptively. And if I only end up having 1, then I have 1. If I have 3, I have 3. Whoop-de-doo. But 3 is my max that I'll let myself have because I don't want to just get carried away with them. Your glutes do not care what the bathroom scale says. Your glutes don't even care what your pant size says. Your glutes need room to grow. And just because you feel like your legs are getting chunkier, it does not mean that you suddenly built so much muscle overnight or in a month or in 12 weeks. You do not build that much muscle, especially in your legs, especially the way that I see most people train them. They are a hard muscle group to grow. But the more that you build your legs, the leaner your midsection is going to be because your legs are the most metabolic muscle in the body. It is a huge chunk of muscle. It's going to demand a lot. It lifts a lot. It burns a lot. And unless you can get fundamentally strong at the fundamentals, your squat, your bench, your squat, your deadlift, your RDLs. You don't even need to do deadlifts or squats or RDLs, but you need to do a version of them, a version of the RDL, a version of the deadlift. It doesn't, like the deadlift and the RDL can be the same thing. You don't need to do a deadlift. You can do a hex bar deadlift. You can do a dumbbell RDL. You can do a barbell RDL with tempo. Learn how to brace because if you're avoiding these exercises because of back pain, that is why your body doesn't look the way that you want it to look. Because that just means you're not bracing. And if you're not bracing properly, you're not fundamentally building your body through training in a way that actually does something. Because pump work and circuits and high volume and all these exercises thrown together is not going to build the body. You need to challenge yourself to get stronger. If everything is 8 to 10 reps or 12 to 15 reps, or this supersetted with this, or all these little tiny exercises versus the basics, the compound movements, getting stronger there, you're not going to change your body to the lean look that you wonder how other people have it, what you're missing. The answer to both abs and arse is number 1, genetics, because they are both genetics, but number 2, it's muscle you need to build first. You're not going to reveal what's not there. Arse is literally muscle. If you have the genetics to store a lot of fat there, then it's fat as well. But you're not going to just have abs without muscle. You're going to have a skinny flob flop. And I had that for most of my life because I chased it through restriction. And if anything, it led to a worse belly because I just held so much inflammation there from all of the stress and all of the dieting. And my hormones were fucked. My cortisol was through the roof. I was overtraining, under recovering, under eating, and my belly was a mess because I was trying to fill myself up with all of these shitty foods. And by shitty foods, I mean not performance foods like fruit, veg, not even fruit. It was veggies, salad, and artificial products. Genetics and muscle are the answers. You can't compare yourself to other people. The more that you compare yourself to other people, the more that you're going to look to them as some sort of validation source or whatever the hell else. You're distracting yourself from what you need to do to get to your best. You need your training to be like, I'm not against 5 days if it means that you have a 3 to 4 day program that you split across 5 days, which I'm actually doing now because I find that easier for me to do. I have a 4-day program and I split that across 5 days. For me, I enjoy it. I enjoy going in there 5 days now for less time, although it ends up being the same time because I just take my time through it. And then I just tick off what I did on the days, and then whatever's left over, I do on the 5th day. You can do that as well. I'm not against that. Even if you're a client and you prefer it that way, do it that way. I don't mind. But this comes down to the total volume across the week. You need to be able to recover from it. You need the compounds in there. You need to learn how to brace. You need to learn how to hinge. If you don't know how to brace or hinge, then you're not going to change your body. Because the glutes that you want, RDL, 2 times more than you realize. At least your body weight for 10 reps. If you can get double your body weight for 1 or 2 or 3 reps, you're flying. But the only reason I can do that with a leaner body right now is because I did that with a more chubbier body before, because I built muscle through it. That's something to remember, because leaner is not from scale weight. Leaner is from changing your shape, and you only change your shape through muscle. You need to change the ratio of muscle to fat, but you need to focus more on the muscle part of the equation, not the fat loss part. And that is where we all go wrong. And this is why I started with the menopausal stuff, because you're not going to see the changes that last through there. You're going to find it so much more difficult when you enter perimenopause if you're not doing these things. And it's never too late, never ever too late. But impatience is what kills so many people. We cut for every summer because we don't feel comfortable in a bikini. We get photos taken of us and then we nitpick ourselves and then we reactively diet to that. You stare at your flaws. You keep watering the wrong plants, meaning you keep deliberately noticing and reinforcing things that way, instead of deliberately and noticing and reinforcing the wins, the adherence, the confidence stuff that you're building. The littlest things could be even the way that you thought about training one day or an exercise one day, because that is what matters. The setup is the rep. And I'm going to tie that to training too, but the setup is as in how you set yourself up for your fat loss journey is the success. And you can't set up a successful fat loss journey by starting off in fat loss, and you can't. And same with any exercises, the setup is the rep. You have to think less about it once you get the setup right. And that takes a lot of focus onto it. The bracing, the hinge mechanics, the spinal awareness. Where's your spine aligned? Do you have the hip mobility there? It's just that all of that stuff does take time, but you don't need to focus on that only by itself. You can do other things that actually move the needle forward, like leg extensions, leg curls. That's what the skill work is for, while you add in the stuff that you can actually push. That is something that we need to keep in mind, because impatience. We want it all, we want it now. But you can't have it all, not at the same time. Things come in stages and you need to give it long enough, otherwise you end up with nothing. The more that you keep trying to shortcut it, you're never going to get there. And this is what how do I get rid of my menopause belly or my menopause belly or this, that, and the other? Patience, doing the simple basic things over and over again. That's the hardest thing to do. Being honest with it too. Are you tracking it? Absolutely everything. Metabolism doesn't just break either. And you don't need special protocols for anything. It's the same shit that works. Whatever applies to women and men are the same. Whatever applies to men applies to women as well. It's just that most women don't want to do the same amount of chest and chest and chest that a lot of men do. And most of the time I would say that men are doing it overkill because they have their own egos to stroke. Not every symptom you have either is menopause. Most of the symptoms that I see are just underfueled people, stressed out people, and someone that never really had sleep priorities in check, or that tries to do everything, or a typical one is being a people pleaser. It's huge. More isn't better. Better is better. And I'm not going to say that less is more, because less isn't always more, but less can definitely be better. Less can be more if you make it more. But just because less is more doesn't make that better either. The goal is to make it better. The goal is to make it specific. Because being exhausted, feeling fatigued, smashing out a workout to the point where, oh my God, you're so sore, that isn't a badge of honor. That is not what we're aiming for. You need to fall in love with the process if you want this to stick. And you're not going to fall in love with the process if you do it out of punishment and out of, I need to change my body ASAP. There is this overworking culture, and we feel like we're putting in all of this effort, so it makes us feel like we should be seeing progress. But is that in the right direction? Is it actually moving the needle? Because you're just busy doing busy stuff. It's not productive. It's not effective. It's not in the direction that you want it to go. 4 sessions does a lot more for your body than 6 half-ass sessions, as an example. You need to make sure that what you're doing is actually driving you forward in the direction that you want. But the biggest thing of all that I really do want to say is the perfectionism. trying to master all of the things and not being willing to speak up on, I can't handle all of this now. I need it to be scaled back, because in trying to set these unrealistic expectations for yourself, you're going to keep falling short, and then you're just going to keep reiterating the pattern to yourself. Hey, I can't do this. Hey, I'm a failure. Hey, this, that, and the other. And then I have this conversation with so many people all the time where if they can't do the normal thing they usually do, they just don't bother with it, because what's the point? I'm not going to match the logbook. I'm not able to lift heavy. I'm not able to do things the way that I usually do them. So fuck that all off. Yeah, well, that's the easiest way for you to actually get nowhere. This is probably the best place for you to find progress, because you're going to get injured at some point. You're going to get sick at some point. So you need to learn how to show up regardless of that. You need to learn how to show up and be okay with not doing things the way that you usually do them. Just do your very best for that day. Because if you can't just have the discipline to show up and hold your word, you are going to lose faith in yourself and trust in yourself. But if you can show up even on the worst of days and be okay with doing 50% of that, you're going to keep moving forward regardless, because your mindset is in the right place. You're removing the pressure from having to do things at a certain level all the time. This is where I like to call recalibration as well, because you're recalibrating what progress means to you. Just like when you start any process either, you need to go through this recalibration phase. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes you let go a little bit too much, and that's okay. It's recalibrating. Sometimes there's an overcorrection where sometimes you were so strict on something that as soon as you start to try to let go a little, you've just let yourself flung in the total other direction. Now it's just a matter of pulling yourself back without the, oh my God, I let myself go sort of things. Like, no, this was the whole process. You had to go through this in order to find this middle ground that is actually going to move you forward. But regardless, we need to focus on what actually gets results. And it's not the best diet. It is the wrong side of the equation. It is in your training. It is more muscle. Your food just needs to be steady. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be something that you at least track with structure. Because the only thing that usually holds people back with nutrition is a lack of structure. That's literally it. A lack of structure. Because once there's structure there, you just need to make sure you're eating enough and fueling enough, and then you can actually move things around. And I can say the same thing about fat loss. It's a lack of structure. That's what you need. I hope this kind of helps, but I think I want to talk just a little bit more about menopause, because a lot of people feel like there are specific things that you need to do for your belly fat, for your meno belly, for your training, etc., for cardio. Don't do long runs. It's bad for your hormones, etc., etc. I think long runs are amazing. You need them because estrogen is so needed for heart health. And if estrogen declines, then there's your cardiovascular health. Doing cardio helps with that. And I'm not a big fan of HIIT unless you can actually do HIIT the way it's meant to be done. And a lot of people can't do that. And the best thing about HIIT is that you can get cardio. Let's just call it what is it? It's just intervals. It's on and off. It's not really high intensity interval training unless you can actually go high intensity. But that can actually help if you can't get in the long duration cardio. But both are great. You don't need a specific one. There isn't one that's worse for you. Same with training. And you don't just suddenly stop lifting heavier. You should be lifting heavier. The reason that you feel like you're getting bulkier or just anything around feeling heavy around your belly, it's because we already know hormones shift where fat is stored. But if you are gaining weight, that is a lifestyle thing. It's just that where you're shifting your belly fat, where that belly fat is just now, because estrogen is declining, we just get more of a mangle pattern with our body fat. You can still lose it the same way. You can still stop it coming on the same way. It's just that you won't see your belly fat reduce until the very end, because that's where you are now storing most of it. That's the main fat storage place. And when you lose fat initially, you're not going to see it because you're going to lose mostly visceral fat first, which is the fat around the organs, which is probably the worst for you. So that's a good sign. So we need to focus on our habits, our sleep, our stress. We need to be okay to not actually push a deficit when we are going through perimenopause, because it's just going to make shit harder. It does not mean gain weight. It means hold shit steady. Keep showing up. Do the best you can. Be aware of everything that's going on around you with your habits. Because the best thing you can do is just maintain what you're doing and keep putting in the effort and try to get stronger if you can. Just try to not show up. Another big one is a lot of people think that you need to cut carbs. And no, you don't, because you need carbs. The carbs are going to help your cortisol. They're going to help your sleep. In fact, if you're going to cut your carbs, your sleep is going to suffer more. You're going to end up with worse symptoms. You're going to end up with more belly fat because you cut the carbs. Carbs, performance, energy, sleep. AKA, that's going to help your metabolism and your body composition. You need the carbs. So you need to keep that in mind too. I'm going to leave you with one more thing so that you have something else to take away. But when it comes to supplements, if you're not meeting your protein requirements, I would say supplement with a protein, but creatine is going to help dramatically. Make sure you are taking magnesium glycinate every single night, 400 to 600 milligrams. You need your vitamin D, and make sure that you are eating enough calcium. Cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, if you can tolerate it. There's tofu, there's sardines, there's all that stuff, but otherwise see if you need to supplement with that as well. Blood tests don't show this because it doesn't show the calcium in your blood. Your bones have a lot to do with that too. And just keep moving. If you're not moving, if you're not working your muscles, if you're not working your body, your joints are going to hurt a lot more and you're going to end up feeling a lot more rigid. So I hope this helps you. You're conditioned to believe that your body is betraying you, but really we just need to slow everything that's going on around us in terms of nutrition, training, cardio, stress, sleep, mindset. It all matters. And if anyone is selling anything that seems too good to be true, question it. But also go all in on muscle. It is so like I'm just sick of people feeling like they can't do anything about it, that nothing works anymore. It does. It just needs you to be ruthlessly honest with your commitments. And it can feel like you've been putting in effort for years and years and years and you're still not seeing changes, and that's the issue, because it's what you've been doing consistently and honestly, and so much happens in our lives, so much happens that throws us off from doing things exactly how they should be. But you can never go wrong with getting strong, and just be a little bit more kinder to yourself, because it'll become a lot more enjoyable when you stop hating yourself there and when you stop hating the process and doing it from a place of restriction. If you need some guidance through this, if you're sick of second guessing, if you want someone to hold your hand through it all so that you know that you're making the right choices, you don't want to feel exhausted all the time, you don't want to come home after work or after a training session and just flop on the couch, which in fact is slowing your metabolism if that's what you do, reach out to me, shoot me a question on Instagram, transformxruby, put any questions down there, but otherwise you'll hear me on the next podcast, and I hope this helps you guys.